It started with a flicker. Just one small curl of smoke from our living room fireplace in the middle of a Texas spring. That was the first strange thing. It wasn't cold outside. It hadn't been for weeks. Vanessa always complained if the AC was even 1 degree off, yet here was a fire burning mid-April. And the weird part? I hadn't lit it. I was working late at the firm. I'm an architect, and deadlines don't care what time it is. So when I came home around 10 p.m., expecting the house dark and quiet, I found her sitting on the couch, cross-legged, wine glass untouched, staring into the flames like she was waiting for something to burn all the way down. She didn't hear me come in. "Vanessa?" I asked, voice low. She jumped a little, smiled too fast. "Hey, you're home late." I stepped closer. "What's going on with the fire?" "Just got chilly," she shrugged. "Felt like it. Is that a crime now?" I gave a half laugh and dropped my keys on the entry table. The flames cracked. Something black and folded was curling inward. She made a sudden movement, too quick, and shoved the poker into the embers. I didn't say anything. I just watched. Then I made a decision that would change my life. I waited until she went upstairs. Once the bedroom door clicked shut, I crouched by the hearth, using the poker to pull out what I could. It was barely salvageable, just a corner of something stiff. Thick paper, charred at the edges. I had to use kitchen tongs to pluck it out without disintegrating it completely. I laid it out on the marble counter. The handwriting was slanted, bold. Not hers. Not mine. "Vanessa, I know you told me to stop. I know you said it was over, but it never was for me. I keep seeing your face every night. You said we couldn't meet, but I saw you last Thursday near the Capitol. You look back. I swear you look back. I'll wait as long as it takes. Jason. Jason." My chest tightened. I blinked, reread the name, then stared at the rest. A date. No year. No envelope. But Jason was her ex. Her dead ex, Jason Breyer. The man who was supposed to have died 10 years ago in a drunk driving accident just before we got engaged. I remember that chapter of our life because it was the first time I ever saw her cry so hard she couldn't breathe. Jason was a ghost. So why was a letter from him still warm in my fireplace? I didn't sleep that night. I laid in bed next to her, staring at the ceiling while her breathing stayed steady, calm, like someone with nothing to hide. At 5:45 a.m., I got up early under the pretense of needing to catch up on blueprints. Instead, I pulled the storage boxes from the closet downstairs, the ones labeled old stuff that neither of us had touched in years. I had no idea what I was looking for. Just more lies, I guess. And I found them. 12 letters in total. Some just notes. Some long-winded. All handwritten. Tucked in the lining of her college yearbooks in a thin plastic envelope marked tax receipts. Jason's handwriting every time. Only 4 were dated. All between 2012 and 2016. That's after we got married. That's after we had kids. I didn't read all of them yet. I couldn't. I just sat on the floor, heart pounding in my ribs, trying to understand what the hell I had just stepped into. Vanessa was asleep upstairs. Or pretending. I had 2 choices. Confront her now, or wait and watch. I've always been the patient one. For the next week, I watched everything. Her texts, her laptop, her schedule. I installed a quiet app on our shared tablet that logged recent access history. She didn't know. She never asked. I told her I'd be working late more often. I needed space to think, to piece it together. What made this whole thing worse was how normal she was acting. Making breakfast, checking our daughter's science fair project, singing along to Old Paramore in the car. Every smile from her felt manufactured. Or maybe I was just seeing it differently now. By Thursday, I had memorized Jason's handwriting. I knew it better than I knew my own. Friday morning, I visited a friend who owed me a favor. Dan Wessler, ex-cop turned PI. We'd collaborated on a zoning dispute 2 years ago. He still owed me a dinner. Instead, I cashed in for a background check. Jason Breyer, I told him. Date of death listed as 2013. Austin, Texas. I want everything, especially if that death was a lie. Dan raised an eyebrow. You think he faked it? I don't know what I think, I muttered. Just find out. He nodded. Give me 72 hours. That weekend, Vanessa caught me staring. We were at our son's baseball game. She looked radiant. Hair pulled up, sunglasses on, that soft smile she wore when she thought she was being the perfect mom. "Something wrong?" she asked, nudging my side. "No," I said. "Lie number 1. Just tired." Lie number 2. "I'm Fina." The biggest lie of all. That night, she left her phone on the kitchen counter while helping our son with math homework. I opened it. Not her messages. I knew she wasn't that reckless. I checked notes, and there it was. A folder called Letters. Not scanned copies. Not drafts. Just entries titled by date. March 22nd, 06/04, August 12th. I clicked one. "Dear Jay, I know I shouldn't write anymore. I know I told you I'd stop, but I dreamed about you again. I keep seeing your car. I keep thinking maybe you'll reach out, but part of me hopes you won't because it's safer this way. Ich chose à home. I chose this life, but there are parts of me still buried with you. I wish that wasn't true." I scrolled down to see how long it went, but she walked into the room and I almost dropped the phone. She didn't see. I hope she didn't. I left the phone exactly where I found it. Sunday, Dan texted me one word. "Meet." We sat at a diner off I-35. Dan slid a small file across the table. Yellowed copies, legal forms, autopsy reports, obituary clippings. Then 2 photos. The first was Jason's wreck. Totalet sedan. Closed casket. Vanessa told me that years ago. No body shown to the public. No DNA match confirmed. But this part was new. Burial site. Cremation. Ordered by legal guardian. No family present. And Jason's parents were still alive at the time. Odd. Second photo. A blurry image taken 2 years ago. It was a man, medium build, hat pulled low, loading groceries into a car in Santa Fe, New Mexico. The file attached? Jason Breyer. Alive. Under a new name, David Reese. I went home and stared at Vanessa through the kitchen window as she watered the azaleas. She didn't look like a liar, but she was. That night, I made a discovery I still can't explain. I was in the garage, searching for an old hard drive I thought I might have used in college. The idea hit me. What if Jason's letters were digital too? Maybe she saved them. I didn't find the drive, but I found a box labeled Aaron Old Desk. Inside, a stack of manila envelopes, most empty, except one, my name on it, postmarked, from Jason, sent last year. I opened it with shaking hands. The letter read, "Aaron, you don't know me, not really. You only know the version Vanessa told you. But there's more. There's always more. If you're reading this, it means she didn't destroy them all. She said you were a good man, that you deserved better than secrets. I am sorry. For everything. You want to ask her about New Mexico, about the cabin. You want to ask her who really sent those last letters. It wasn't her. It was me, and I wasn't writing to her. I was writing to you, Jason." I couldn't breathe. I read the last line over and over. Not to her. To me? Why? Why would a dead man, or a ghost, be writing to me? Unless this story was never just about an old flame. Unless my wife wasn't the only one keeping secrets. And maybe neither was I. I kept reading the letter from Jason until my hands went numb. It didn't feel real. Not just the fact that it existed, but what it said. I wasn't writing to her. I was writing to you. What the hell did that mean? I stared at the signature, the ink, the date. It was postmarked 9 months ago. Mailed from a town in New Mexico I'd never been to, Los Cerrillos. Population barely 200. I reread the last sentence a dozen times. He knew something. He was trying to tell me something. And suddenly, everything I thought I knew about this affair, this supposed dead ex-boyfriend, twisted into something more dangerous. Something less about love and more about truth. I didn't sleep that night either. The next morning, I called in sick. Said I had a fever. Vanessa offered tea. I said I needed space. She kissed my forehead. I flinched. I hoped she didn't notice. She went to drop off the kids at school. As soon as the door closed, I went back to the hidden letter stash. There were 12 I'd skimmed before, but now I read every single one, line by line, word by word. And what I noticed hit like a gut punch. Jason's tone shifted halfway through. The first few letters were emotional, grieving, nostalgic, clinging to what they once had. But later, they got colder, more direct, more about me. He seems nice, a little stiff but solid, Like the kind of guy you'd pick for stability. Do you love him, though? Really love him? Tell Aaron the truth. It's not fair to him otherwise. If you don't, I will. The last two weren't letters. They were transcribed voicemails. She'd written them out by hand like she was documenting them. Maybe for guilt. Maybe as a threat. Maybe just to feel close to him. Either way, they were chilling. You can't lie to him forever, V. He's not the idiot you think he is. He deserves to know. About everything. About what? I slammed the drawer shut and paced the living room like a caged animal. My hands trembled as I opened my phone. There was only one way to start peeling back this mess. I had to find someone who'd known Jason before the crash. Before Vanessa. Before the lies. I remembered he had a mother. I remembered she didn't attend the funeral. Vanessa said she had dementia and couldn't handle it. But what if that wasn't true? I Googled her name, Margaret Breyer. And there it was. A patient record at Clearbrook Memory Center, about 20 minutes north of the city. Listed under adult guardianship. No visitors in 3 years. I made the drive in silence. Clearbrook smelled like disinfectant and sadness. I signed in as Aaron Mitchell, personal inquiry. They let me through after confirming she still had a visitor slot open. She was in a soft lavender sweater, curled up on a window seat in the sunroom, humming to herself. When I introduced myself, she tilted her head and gave me a long stare. "You're not with the lawyers," she said, voice sharper than I expected. "No, ma'am. You look like him. Like Jason." She smiled at the name. "Yes, but cleaner. Quieter." My heart tripped. "Mrs. Breyer. Margaret, did your son, is he still alive?" She didn't answer right away. Just looked out the window. People come and go. Death is a trick of paperwork. Sometimes you sign something and poof, gone. That wasn't the dementia talking. That was pain. Did Vanessa lie to me? I asked softly. Margaret closed her eyes. Vanessa always wanted safety. My Jason wasn't safe. He was lightning in a bottle. She told him he had to die or disappear. My breath caught. So he faked it. He left. That's all I know. He came to see me once after the accident. Hair shorter. Voice lower. He kissed my hand and said he was sorry. Then he disappeared again. She told me never to mention it. So I didn't. I leaned forward. Did he ever say why he came back? She smiled sadly. He asked about you. What? Your name. Said you were solid. Reliable. Said you didn't deserve what was coming. I left Clearbrook shaken. I sat in my car for 20 minutes before turning the engine on. He knew me. Jason. Not just as Vanessa's ex, but something else. What was I missing? Why was this dead man circling my life like a shadow? That night, the tension in our house crackled. I watched Vanessa plate dinner like it was any other night. Lasagna. Garlic bread. Candle lit like we were in a commercial. I couldn't stand it. Do you still think about him? I asked suddenly, voice low. She froze. Her hand hovered over the salad bowl. Who? You know who. She put the fork down slowly. Where is this coming from? I found the letters. Her eyes snapped to mine. The ones in the yearbook, I continued. And the one he sent me. Silence. You knew. I nodded. She sank into a chair. Her breath caught. Her fingers curled into fists. I burned them, she whispered. I tried to burn them all. I didn't know you'd find them. So you admit it? Yes. I kept them. I was stupid. But they weren't love letters, Aaron. Not anymore. Not after. After what? She looked up at me, tears glassing her eyes. After he changed. He turned dark. Angry. It wasn't about me anymore. It was about something else. About you. He said he had to talk to you. That you were connected somehow. Why would Jason care about me? I asked louder than I meant. She shook her head. I don't know. I swear I don't. But the last time he wrote me, he said he was dying. I blinked. What? Pancreatic cancer. He said he didn't have long. That he wanted to come clean before the end. And you didn't tell me? She looked away. I didn't want to open that door again. I stood slowly. That door's already wide open, Vanessa. 2 days passed in silence. Then our daughter, Chloe, 15, came downstairs holding her phone awkwardly. Dad, she asked. Who's JB? What? She turned the screen around. A private message from a profile called JB Los Cerrillos. Just 2 words. He needs to know. The phone shook in my daughter's hands. He needs to know. 4 words. But they dropped into my chest like wet cement. Did you respond to this? I asked her. She shook her head. No, I don't even know who it is. They just sent it this morning. On that art app Aunt Dana told me about. I barely use it. I took the phone, clicked the message. No bio. No other posts. Just the initials. JB location tag? Los Cerrillos, New Mexico. My fingers clenched. He was dead. He was dying. He was gone. He was everywhere. Don't message back, I said. Is something wrong? I looked in her eyes, so much like Vanessa's. I wanted to say no, but I couldn't lie anymore. I'm just figuring some things out. She nodded, slowly. Is it about Mom? Yeah, I admitted. But not just her. She hesitated. Is it about Jason? That hit me like a punch. How do you know that name? She looked down. I heard you and Mom fighting. Of course she had. That night, I didn't sleep. Again, I stayed downstairs in my office with Jason's old letters spread out like puzzle pieces. And in the middle of it all, the last one, the one he sent to me, I kept staring at the words. You want to ask her about New Mexico, about the cabin. So I did. Sunday morning, before the kids were up, I cornered Vanessa in the kitchen. What cabin? She didn't pretend not to know. Her shoulders slumped. She sat down at the table and rubbed her temples like a migraine was coming. It's not what you think. Then explain it. Jason didn't just fake his death, she said quietly. He disappeared. Entirely. But not on his own. Someone helped him. Who? I don't know his name. He called himself H. That's all Jason ever told me. I blinked. That's not possible. People don't just disappear into the desert and live under code names. She laughed bitterly. Jason did. He was always different. Always in some new scheme. And I didn't want to be part of it anymore. Yet you still visited him. Her eyes darted up to mine. You knew. I know everything, Vanessa. The grave in New Mexico? The fake name? David Reese. She flinched. How? I had him followed. Silence. Did he ever live in that cabin? Yes, she whispered. He bought it under an alias. I only went there once. When? 2 years ago. Before he got sick. And why did you go? She hesitated. He called me. Said he had to see me. Said it wasn't about us. That was about you. Again with this me thing. Why? What does he have to do with me? Vanessa looked up, and this time there were real tears. Because he believed you weren't who you thought you were. I left the house. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't see straight. I got in my truck and drove for 3 hours with no idea where I was going. I ended up at a gas station just past Waco, drinking the worst coffee of my life, trying to figure out if my marriage had just collapsed or if my entire identity had. Because Jason wasn't writing about a love triangle. He was writing about me. The next morning, I called Dan, the PI. You said his alias was David Reese? Yeah. Can you pull records? Find out who paid for the cabin. He called back 6 hours later. You're not going to like this, he said. Try me. The deed was purchased through a holding company, but the trustee name attached to it. He paused. It's Mitchell Holdings. My last name. I never. It wasn't you, Dan said. It was your father, Gregory Mitchell. My heart slammed in my chest. My dad's been dead 7 years. But he created the LLC 14 years ago, just before Jason disappeared. Gregory Mitchell. My father. Respected businessman. Fierce. Proud. Sharp. I had always admired him, and feared him a little too. He'd never liked Vanessa. He'd called Jason a coward after the crash. But now it looked like he had helped Jason fake it all. Why? I called my sister Dana. She was always closer to Dad. Did you ever hear about a cabin Dad bought in New Mexico? Long silence. Then, oh God, he told me never to mention it. What do you know? A little. Not enough. I was maybe 21. He came home one night, drunk. Said something about fixing the boys' mess and protecting what's left. I thought it was business stuff. You think he was helping Jason? She paused again. I think Jason was family, Aaron. That stopped everything. What do you mean? I think Dad had another kid. I think it was Jason. The room spun. I gripped the counter with both hands. Why would he hide that? Because it was an affair. For before Mom died. And because Jason's mother, Margaret, was married to someone else at the time. So, Jason was my half-brother. Dana's voice cracked. Yes. Everything unraveled after that. The letters. The obsession with me. The anger in Jason's words. He wasn't just watching my life because of Vanessa. He was watching it because he believed it was his. I confronted Vanessa again that night. You knew. Not at first, she said. Not until after we got married. Jason told me once, in the cabin, that he had blood in your family line. I didn't believe him until your father died, and Jason stopped contacting me. That's when I figured it out. And you didn't tell me? I was trying to protect you. No, Isnabat. You were trying to protect yourself. From the fallout. From what this would do to us. She didn't argue. She just wept. I barely remember falling asleep that night. But I remember the dream. I was at my father's old cabin. Jason stood outside, staring at me. Not angry. Just hollow. You're living my life, he said. I was supposed to be the one. I turned away in the dream. But when I woke up, I couldn't. I had to know the truth. So I ordered a DNA test. For my son. If Jason was obsessed with Vanessa, if he had seen her after faking his death, if they'd reconnected around the time she got pregnant with Logan. God help me, I needed to know. 2 weeks passed. The envelope came. I opened it in the garage. My hand shook. Paternal relationship. Inconclusive. My knees buckled. My world cracked open. The paper trembled in my hands. Paternal relationship. Inconclusive. 3 words that hit like a hammer to the chest. I read the result over and over, as if repetition might change it. But science doesn't care about your emotions. It doesn't care what you need to be true. It only cares about what is. I thought of my son, Logan, 14 years old, shy, loves robotics and drawing in the margins of his homework. My blood or not, he's my boy. But at that moment, the ground beneath everything I had believed as a husband, as a father, began to split. I stared out at the street. The neighborhood was quiet. Sprinklers hissed in sync across manicured lawns. I felt like I was watching it all from behind glass, like I didn't belong in the world I'd built. That evening, I didn't mention the test to Vanessa. I didn't ask her to confirm or deny anything. I didn't trust myself to stay calm. But I did take a drive to my father's old law office, now managed by his former partner, Richard Langston. Long time, he said, ushering me in. What brings you here, Aaron? I handed him a legal pad. Tell me if you recognize this name. He squinted. Jason Breyer? Sure. That was your dad's pet case for a while. Did some property work for him years ago. Why will my dad buy a cabin in New Mexico under a shell company for someone named Jason Breyer? Richard raised an eyebrow. He never told you? Told me what? He leaned back slowly. Gregory always said he had one big regret. An affair. One that went sideways. He didn't say names, but I figured out the kid's name after helping process the trust. Jason, your half-brother. He didn't want to risk his name being attached. So he funneled funds through a holding company, set the kid up with a place to disappear. It was hush-hush. Only Margaret Breyer and I ever knew. He said Fosen. So it's true. Yes. And what about the trust? Richard paused, then unlocked the filing cabinet behind his desk and pulled a folder, thick, dust-covered. Your father drew up a will 6 months before he died. In that, he left a portion of his assets, not the firm or the estate, but a separate portfolio, to Jason. My jaw clenched, but he didn't include that in the reading of the will. No, because Jason never came to claim it, and we couldn't reach him. It's just sitting in limbo. I rubbed my temples. What was Jason to him, really? Richard sighed. A son he couldn't raise. A mistake he tried to fix too late. And maybe a way to clean up more than one mess. I returned home numb. Vanessa was in the kitchen again, scrubbing dishes she'd already rinsed. She didn't look up. Did you go see Richard? She asked. I froze. You knew. I figured. You're not subtle when you're angry. I set the test results down on the counter. She read them. Didn't blink. I don't know whose he is, she said quietly. I swear to you, Aaron. I don't know, but it's possible. She nodded, tears forming. It's possible. I leaned against the fridge and stared at her. This woman I'd loved, built a life with, trusted. You slept with him while we were married. Only once. After the funeral. I scoffed. What funeral? She winced. The fake one. I went to his cabin. I needed closure. It was stupid. I thought I could control it. I didn't think he'd still have that power over me. And Logan, I didn't know I was pregnant until months later. And by then, Jason was gone again. He stopped writing. I thought he was dead for real this time. So you just let lie? I was scared. Of what? Me? No. Of destroying everything. Too late. I didn't sleep that night. Around 3 a.m., I wandered into the garage and started opening storage bins. I wasn't looking for anything in particular, just digging for distraction. But I found something that didn't belong. A box with my father's initials burned into the side, GM. Inside, old ledgers, envelopes, correspondence. And in the bottom, a legal envelope labeled confidential, to be opened by AM only. I opened it slowly. Inside, a letter from my father. Aaron, if you're reading this, then you've uncovered the truth. Jason was my son. I failed him in many ways, but I tried to protect what I could, including you. You deserve to know why. Years ago, before you were born, I had an affair with Margaret Breyer. Jason was the result. I supported him quietly, but I couldn't bring him into our family. I failed him. When he got involved with Vanessa, I panicked. I knew it could explode everything. So when he told me he was in trouble, legal trouble, debt, enemies, I helped him disappear. But he didn't just vanish. He kept tabs. On me. On you. I think he hated you for the life he never had. And I think Vanessa knew more than she ever told you. There are secrets buried deeper than love. Be careful who you trust. Dad, I dropped the letter on the floor. Everything was a lie. The love story, the marriage, the clean legacy. I wasn't just Jason's replacement in Vanessa's life. I was his replacement in my father's. The next morning, I asked Logan to go for a walk with me. We ended up at the park, sitting on a bench beneath a giant oak tree. I looked at him, really looked at him. His nose, his eyes, his quiet nature, his instinct to draw when he was overwhelmed. He was mine. Maybe not by blood, but he was mine. Logan, I said gently, you know I love you, right? He looked confused. Yeah, of course. And there's nothing you could ever say or be that would change that. Okay, what's going on? I hesitated. Then I lied. Nothing. I just needed to say it. He smiled. Weird timing, but okay. We sat there for a while, not speaking, just breathing. And for the first time in weeks, I felt like I could. Back home, I found Vanessa sitting on the edge of the bed, pale. She was holding her phone. What is it? I asked. She turned the screen. It was a text message from an unknown number. Just 4 words. He's still watching you. He's still watching you. That text message hit harder than any letter, voicemail, or DNA test ever could. Because whoever sent it, if it wasn't Jason, wanted us to believe it was. And if it was Jason, then the grave in New Mexico wasn't just empty. It was a trap. I took Vanessa's phone and scrolled through the message. No other texts. No contact name. The number was unlisted. I copied it and ran it through every lookup service I knew. Nothing. It was a burner. Did you tell anyone about what's been happening? I asked her. She shook her head. No one. I swear. Not even your sister. She looked up. No. I haven't talked to Rachel in over a year. I watched her. Studied her face. I didn't want to keep questioning her. But trust, once broken, doesn't return quietly. Then someone's playing us. She looked down. Or someone never stopped. I returned to Richard's office the next day. There's something else I need to know, I said. Did my father leave? Anything else tied to Jason? Richard hesitated. That depends. How deep do you want to go? All the way. He nodded. Okay. After Jason vanished, your father kept sending payments. Small, irregular, through shell accounts. But 3 years before he died, those payments stopped. Jason sent back a letter. Enraged. Do you have it? He pulled it from a locked drawer and slid it across the table. It was written in Jason's unmistakable hand. The pen strokes were angrier, harsher, like he wrote it with his teeth clenched. I never asked to be erased. You did that. You made me a ghost in exchange for silence. But silence has a price, and you're running out of time. If Aaron ever finds out, it won't be from you. It'll be from me. I sat back in my chair. Jason was never done with us. Not even when he disappeared. Especially not then. He hated me. I said quietly. No, Richard replied. He envied you. And envy has a longer half-life than hate. That night, I opened my father's old files again. This time, I wasn't just looking for Jason. I was looking for H, the mysterious name Jason once gave Vanessa, the person who helped him disappear. Could have been my father? Maybe. But the way Jason wrote about H, it felt separate, like a handler or a fixer. Buried in the ledger from 2013, I found a wire transfer, $15,000 to someone named Henry Callan, with a memo line that read, Cabin Relocation JB, Henry Callan. That was H. I ran the name through every legal and financial database I had access to. Turns out he was real, a property investor, quiet, off the grid now. Last known address, Santa Fe. So I booked a flight. I didn't tell Vanessa I was going. I told her I needed space. It wasn't a lie. I landed in Albuquerque and rented a car. The drive to Santa Fe was long and empty. The desert outside stretched like bone. I found Henry's house on a dusty road lined with twisted cedar trees. No neighbors. No mailbox. I knocked. Waited. He opened the door slowly. White beard, sun-leathered skin, old eyes. Aaron Mitchell, he said before I could speak. Yeah. He didn't look surprised. I figured you'd come eventually. Cool mean. His house was full of paper. Files. Ledgers. Maps. Like he hadn't stopped working for people like Jason. You knew him? I asked. Jason? Better than I wanted to. Your father paid me to make him disappear. New name. New identity.